Before you can experience an emotion, you have to tell yourself a story about what just happened to you. Now, the problem is, you and I are hardwired to tell certain kinds of stories. And to the degree you can start to recognize your tendency to tell these types of stories, challenge and change these stories, you gain enormous control over your own emotions. Let me tell you a quick example here. I'm going to ask you to play with this one for a second. I was asked a question a while back from a woman who was struggling with a crucial conversation with her husband. She said, I want you to follow this here. She said, I just found out that over the past 6 months, my husband has had lunch with his ex-girlfriend. Now, the question I want to ask you is, as I start to describe some of that information, what story are you tempted to tell yourself? Think about it for a moment. What sorts of things did you add to the information that I just shared? Well, some obvious concerns might be, is he having more than lunch? Is he having dessert, right? Is there more going on here? Are they fooling around? Is there a relationship? Is he doing something behind my back? But look how even more subtly we start to add so much to what's going on in this moment. I want you to go back to what you experienced in your brain when I first started describing what that woman said. I just found out that my husband over the past 6 months has had lunch with his ex-girlfriend. What sort of leaps do we start to make? Now, I don't know if you're like me, but when I heard her talking, I didn't just hear her say lunch, I started to see lunch. Did you do that? I started to imagine what the lunch looked like. And there was a certain kind of restaurant. Was there in your mind? Was it a restaurant with a drive-through? Or was it a restaurant that had linen tablecloths and fine silverware? Was that your restaurant? Was there a candlestick? Were there certain people at the table? Were there a lot of people, or was it just two? In that moment, we start to make lots of inferences. We start to tell certain kinds of stories. Here's my son with maple syrup drool all over the front of him, and the thing that's creating my emotion is not the maple syrup drool.